Okay guys, hey everybody, Tekking101 here. I'm finally back from the other dimension thing going on. Really wish somebody would release a video chronicling my epic adventures returning from that horrible, dreadful place, but I don't know, people are freaking lazy in this place. Anyway, for this chapter of Bleach, I decided to do something a little bit differently because we see a wide array of emotions from everybody's favorite character, Stern Ritter T. Candace Catnip. So because of this, whenever she's on screen, I'm going to be using everybody's favorite electrical type anime character, Pikachu, in order to convey her very complex emotions, because she's a very intricate character, a lot of cognitive dissonance going on here. She's just a fascination, really. Freud would be baffled by her dialogue. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 582, entitled The Headless Star. You want to go see a real headless star? Go check out Maste Masculine. Boom! I went there! It's funny because he got burnt into literally nothingness by Renji, so he's more than headless, but his ashes were pretty good. I remember that. That was a fun video. Alright, so chapter starts off with Ichigo staring down Kenpachi, and despite the fact Kenpachi has been struck by lightning like 3 times and he barely has any motor functions going on, he still has the strength to laugh at Ichigo's snide comments. You know, last chapter he shows up like, I'm here to save you, and Kenpachi's in the crater and he's just like, I must be dreaming. You coming to save my ass. Ain't that a bitch? Oh my god, I think my kidneys just failed. Ugh. Ha, that's funny, Kenpachi. Hey, can you stand up? You know what? Yeah, I totally could. It's just, I'm not feeling like it right now, but, give me a couple minutes and, yeah, maybe I'll help you out there. So their conversation, though, was cut a little bit short when Candace Catnip just shows up from behind Ichigo, ready to nuke his ass from behind. And you know what? 2 things I'm happy about this. Number 1, I know a lot of people were thinking that Kubo was not going to have Ichigo just, like, beat the ever-loving shit out of these 4 girls just for, you know, whatever reason. I thought, like, maybe they would sense that Ichigo's kind of like a tough customer, like they would feel his Ryatsu and just kind of, like, you know, run, like retreat with their tail between their legs, because they seem like Candace was the hot-headed one, but Meninas and Lilito and even Giselle, who's a little bit, you know, Giselle's a little bit out there, but she's still aware of her surroundings. I thought they would be able to figure out, okay, this guy's way too strong for us. We're going to retreat back to Yuha and, you know, do something like that, or maybe formulate a strategy. So I'm glad at least they're having a fight in this chapter, because the last one was kind of just like empty space, just a void, just to fill up Ichigo getting at the end. I mean, we had the whole thing with Shinji and Basby, but that was really not much of anything, and the rest of that chapter was just, you know, revealing Ichigo at the very end. So we have a fight in this chapter. Also, we also have the fact that they don't just sit there and listen to Kenpachi and Ichigo have their little conversations. So many times in manga and anime does that happen, where, you know, the main character will show up on the battlefield and the enemy will just, like, pause for a second and go out for a coffee break while the new arrival has enough time to converse with the other people. You know, that's just like, that happened in the Fake Karakura Town arc, when, you know, the Vise would show up on the battlefield and Aizen and all the other Spada just kind of stop what they're doing and just wait for, you know, Shinji to go talk to Yamamoto and talk to them about that, and they get to have their conversations with the captains and everything. And, you know, meanwhile, I guess the Espada are just sitting there just being like, whatever. You guys are catching up. I can see your friends. I can see you haven't seen each other in a while. I don't want to get in the way of that. But yeah, so pretty awesome scene in this chapter. So she shows up. I guess she tries to use thunder against him, but hey, that is shitty accuracy, so what do you expect? Oh, hey, wow, I must say, your skin is really soft. Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I used that Olay moisturizing cream. I mean, I didn't know it was doing that good of a... Does it come with a layer of cement? What? So yeah, screw everybody's suspicion. Ichigo isn't gonna beat up a bunch of girls. Fuck that noise. What I really love here is that Ichigo is just so nonchalant about all of it. You know, he was heading down from the Soul Palace. It was like, he's gotten more mature. He's a true Shinigami. Whip. Whoa, just tosses her to the side of a fucking building. I mean, I guess you could kind of say he's more mature to the point where he's not going to look at stuff like that as, like, gender being an issue here. I mean, he's not going to come down and see, you know, Kenpachi getting the shit kicked out of him by this girl, and him being just like, oh, well, you know, not like a sense of chivalry, like with Sanji. Like, oh, well, you're a girl, so no matter what you do, I'm not going to hurt you. It's just against my nature. No, he recognizes Candace as an enemy, so he's going to fight her like an enemy, the same as he would with a guy. So, hey, I guess with the, you know, the theme of the maturity level of Ichigo going up. I guess that makes sense. Alright, so then we have the other 3 Stern Ritter girls that are also attacking Ichigo from all 3 angles, but he avoids their attacks pretty easily, except for Lilito's. Lilito attacks her with her Chain Chomp powers of awesomeness, and bites at Ichigo's cloak, tearing it off. Ichigo's a little bit surprised by this, but he ends up just grabbing each one of them and just tosses them into a building in turn. Yeah, that's a thing right there. Good job, Ichigo. Go, dude. You know Kenpachi this whole time, he's just still in the ground, and he's just looking up, and he can't move an inch, but he's just like, oh, bitchin'. Oh, okay, there goes my other kidney. You know, that's how that's going. All 3 of the Stern Ritter girls, you know, except for maybe Lilito, because, you know, Menelaus is the power, so obviously I don't think her, you know, she's Power Girl, essentially, so getting knocked into a wall is probably not going to get her that damage. She just kind of lifts up the rubble like nothing, and Giselle, you know, she's basically the zombie. She's basically undead already, so, you know, getting knocked into a wall, getting her neck cracked or broken, you know, that's not really going to affect her that much. Lilito, on the other hand, doesn't really have any immunities to that. I mean, she has Blue Vein, which she probably used, but she just got knocked into the wall. We just see her foot, so I thought that was kind of humorous. So Giselle and Meninas, I think it's Meninas. I heard that's how you pronounce it. It's a Spanish name. The fuck all is a Spanish name doing on the Quincy's, which their motive is German. It's the same freaking shit going on with Maste Masculine being a luchadore, but whatever. Meninas and Giselle are both curious exactly who Ichigo is and how he was able to do that, like just toss them around like a bunch of ragdolls, to which Lilito responds that, no, see, that wasn't like our problem. That actually makes a lot of sense. That man is Ichigo Kurosaki, which means he should be at least able to do this much. And Giselle and Meninas are, like, shocked and awed by this, because they recognize the name, but they apparently didn't recognize the face. I mean, you'd think that Yuha would be like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Stern Ritters, alright, we're gonna invade the Soul Society, you know, we're gonna take out all the Shinigami, we're gonna have a good old-fashioned purging, it's gonna be a freaking ball, you know, we're gonna have some smoothies and some KFC afterwards. Colonel Sanders Quincy will supply that. Yo. But anyway, so I just want to pay close attention to this chart here, alright? So here are the 5 war potentials. Now, I was kind of lazy last night, so I didn't finish this graph, but I came up with 2 of them, and that was Ichigo and Kenpachi Saraki. So if you see any of these 2 guys wandering around the Seirete, you might want to kind of just avoid them or have extreme caution, alright? I mean, so you'd figure with the massive amount of information that Yuha knew about the Soul Society and the Shinigami, and apparently they had like a bulletin board thing and like called the Daten, where it's basically like all this information on Bankai and the Shinigami and the captains and the 5 war potentials. You'd think they'd include a picture of Ichigo fucking Kurosaki in there. I don't think that shit would be that hard to get your hands on. So yeah, apparently they don't recognize Ichigo Kurosaki, but they know his name. It's like, oh my god, he's the head of the war powers. So I guess if you're like the ranked #1 of the war potentials, you're like the most dangerous. You have to exercise the most caution when confronting. So I have no idea where Kenpachi Uzuraki would show up. I have no idea where Sosuke Aizen would have been placed if he would have been as a member. But yeah, so Meninas and Giselle are both freaked out by this, and Lilito still keeps a level head. She's explaining this to everybody, but she's keeping a level head. Who's not keeping a level head is Candace Catnip, who releases her massive discharge attack to blow up the building that Ichigo slammed her into. And oh man, this cheek is a little bit agitated. You've ruined my hairstyle! Okay, I don't want to bring up a sexist feminist argument here, but this is why you don't give a girl the ability to shoot fucking lightning from anywhere she pleases! Alright, because the second she has a bad hair day or breaks a nail, this shit goes down! I mean, seriously, guys, am I right? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that against— oh, jeez! Okay, just chill out, girls, chill out, I didn't mean it, okay? You all have very lovely hair, you're all very pretty right now. Anyway, so yeah, she's supremely pissed off because every morning she wakes up really early to do her hair up, just in the perfect, you know, immaculate way. And Ichigo messed that all up by throwing her into her building. She doesn't really seem injured, like she's not bleeding or anything. I would assume she just used Blue Vein, but of course that doesn't affect her hair. Oh wait, no, maybe it does, because when Hashwolf was affected by Yamamoto's Bankai, he's like, my hair feels like it's going to explode with heat, except I'm using Blue Vein, so I don't know what the fuck. No, that was Yuha. That was Royd disguised as Yuha. So anyway, yeah, she's not really mad about that. She's just mad that he got dust in her hair. And the funny thing I found is that it says, like, I wake up hours hours before everybody to do my hair up. So now I'm picturing, like, all the Sternritters in, like, a Big Brother reality show where they're all living in the Silburn together. Like, they have, like, their own separate rooms. And what, do they have to go to the dining hall every day? What the fuck do they talk about? You know, it's like everyone goes in the dining hall for breakfast and they're sitting there and there's, like, so, like, it's really out of place, you know, at least with the Espada. You kind of figured they each had their own separate palace and they just kind of keep to themselves unless Aizen, you know, asks them to come in here. Like, the Espada even, like, except for, like, some of them, like Zomari, they weren't with Aizen because they wanted to be. They were with Aizen because he was stronger than them and they just recognized that power. That's really the only reason. Also, he had, you know, Kyokatsu Suigetsu. But they didn't really want to be there of their own free will, except for maybe, like, Zomari and possibly Holybell. But with the Sternritters, it's like you all gather them all together. They all work as like one big happy family. So, yeah, that needs to be a reality show. That'd be pretty good. She activates her bow, which I guess is contained in like the heart-shaped belt buckle she has. And we find out in this chapter that all the Sternritter girls have, you know, a bow hidden in that heart-shaped belt buckle. So, Bambietta had one of those too, but we never got to see her use it. So it would be, you know, it would stand to reason that she could also, you know, manifest a bow out of that. Heaven knows if we're going to see her ever again. So Candace pulls out her lightning bolt-shaped bow and launches a Haley-Piphile Galvano Blast! Turn to ashes with 5 gigajoules! Okay, so next we have the 5.21 gigajoules! 5.21 gigajoules! What the hell is a gigajoule? Oh, wow, okay, that makes sense a lot simpler. Yeah. So after she does that, she's very confident in the fact that Ichigo just got burned to death by her power. Now, I will admit that she probably put a lot of oomph into that one attack there, that Galvano Blast thing. Meanwhile, Liloto's just standing there just being like, okay, come on, seriously, do you think he's going to die just from 2 shots from your bow? Of course he's not going to die from that. And sure enough, Ichigo arrives from the smoke, and he's just like, what's this? Everyone's so lively and full of energy. Bum, 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 bum! New outfit! That'll be like, okay, let's see, you know, outfit with the turban, and then he had the outfit when he was learning his new swords, and then he had the outfit before that when he regained his new powers. So that's like the 3rd or 4th, plus his full brings. That's like the 4th or 5th new outfit he's gotten in the past, like, 3 years since I've been reviewing this freaking series. But yeah, so let's take a little bit of analysis, shall we? Not a lot of stuff for me to comment on, but let's just throw it out there. First off, he has his 2 swords there. He's, you know, got the long sword on his back, and he also has his Bowie knife at his side. I'm assuming the X-shaped deal that's over his entire body is maybe like the apparatus used to hold up the swords, because his swords are like oddly shaped. You know, they're not the same thing as just, you know, not like a regular sword shape, so maybe he has to have that special apparatus for there. Of course, it calls back stuff to his fullbring, you know, the idea that his fullbring, like, was basically like white armor that was, like, stretching all over his body, and, you know, that was covering him up in an X shape, so maybe that has something to do with that. On his wrists, where we used to see the markings of his fullbring, and also those are gone too, the markings on his neck and the markings on his wrist that have the X shape, those are gone, so I don't know if he still has the power from his fullbring, but maybe he like transcended that, like he don't need it anymore. But now on his wrist, he just has these 2 black looking, like, they look like wristbands, except they're like emitting like black Ryatsu. So I don't know if that's like the spirit handcuffs from like Yu Yu Hakusho where he like releases that and his power increases. I always assumed the whole reason he was wearing that new outfit was the thing that Sentomaru made for him, and maybe that repressed his Ryatsu, and maybe that, now that he removed it, maybe his power, it can be felt by everybody. Maybe that's the reason the 4 Sternritter girls didn't recognize it was Ichigo Kurosaki, or didn't really get afraid by his power, because he was maybe wearing that outfit that was suppressing his energy. Kind of the same thing that Uehara, you know, came up with, that then eventually Aizen Swaggerjacked. You know, so maybe that's the reason. So they're a little bit startled by this, by the fact he's not even moving from this huge attack that, you know, Candace just released. Liloto, Giselle, and Meninas all released their Quincy bows out of their belt buckles, and then Ichigo pulls out both of his swords, and oh my god, we're getting ready to do this! He strikes an epic battle pose, they all draw their bows, taut, ready to launch it. Ichigo looks like he's gonna pull off some, I don't know, that looks kind of like an X-shaped Getsuga Tensho, just throwing that out there, my idea, you know, 2 Getsuga Tenshos together, a new technique, and then we completely cut away from the battlefield. That's so awesome, Kubo. I love it when you pull fucking shit like that. That's incredible. You know, you get all pumped up. He's like, bring it on, here we go. And then back of our commercial messages, we'll see if Ichigo kicks a whole bunch of Sternritter girl ass. But we apologize for that, because first we have to bring you a very special episode of What's the Deal with Yuha Bach, starring Askanak Levar. So we cut back over to the Silburn where we have Yuha Buck standing over the entire Seirete, which he still has his back turned. The same thing he had when back in 577 when he was watching the meteor crash down. We didn't actually get to see his face. We just see him leaving the Silburn and standing up at the roof and states, "It's about to begin. Hashwolf, Uryu." And then we see Askinak Levar, who's standing at the very base of the Silburn, staring up, and he just states, "So it's finally that time. Well then, do I have a choice or not?" And that's chapter ending. Very confusing ending. You know, so let's just talk about this for a second. So maybe we're actually going to get Hashwolf and Uryu doing something, you know, maybe entering the battlefield finally, and maybe them going off and continuing. Maybe Hashwolf would go back to go see Shunsui to see what's going on with them, because Shunsui, he said he would go, but he would be back as soon as possible, so maybe Hashwolf's going to go do that, and then we have Uryu maybe join the battlefield. I don't know, I think it's a little bit too early for Uryu and Ichigo to meet, but then at the same time, they haven't seen each other for 100 chapters. I'm talking like in the context of the battle, it might be too early for them to meet. As for Asuka, during the last couple pages, like last panels, that's a little bit weird how he just showed up and be like, "Oh, it's finally time. Well then, do I have a choice or not?" As if kind of like whatever Yuha's gonna do, the other Sternritters aren't gonna have a choice in the matter. Now, they've always been very loyal to Yuha. They've always been like, if the guy says go and pretend to be me, as in the case with Roy, and you're probably going to die, they still did it perfectly happily. They were happy to die by Yuha's orders. This might be a case of, like, you're going to be doing it, or I'll take your powers away, or you're going to be doing it because I will it, and then you'll have no choice in the matter whatsoever. Like, you'll lose your sense of individuality. Then again, that's kind of going back to the whole Giselle thing, so I don't know. You know, a little reference here to Askin's power, since they said, do I have a choice or not? Kind of like he's he's deciding, or a decision, or maybe the D symbol. That's just my, you know, just my theory on that, because the D has to stand for something. It's probably going to be dimensions, given the fact of he can, you know, mess with dimensions like that. So yeah, Asuka in particular, I think the reason that Kubo used him as the Sternritter to speak about this whole thing, though, was because Asuka this entire war has been so freaking chill. Like, seriously, how many other people do you know who in the middle of a massive battle in any kind of manga or an anime will they literally just chill out on a roof having a picnic? You know, just watching everything. He's not getting involved in the fights. He doesn't want to get involved in the fights because they're going to be too troublesome. You know, like it's such a drag. You know, Shikamaru from Naruto. He's just going to stand on a roof, have a little roast beef sandwich, watch everybody else's fight through binoculars. You know, not really doing much of anything. But now that he's showing up, he's just like, maybe I don't have a choice. Maybe now, you know, Yuha is going to make them all fight, and that includes the like very lazy Naklevars. And I also think this is going to be something that's going to be elaborated on at the beginning of next chapter. The whole deal with Askin and Yuha, because that's honestly very kind of confusing just for them to leave it off here and not reference it at all next chapter. So I think it's going to get a little bit of reference, at least what Yuha's plan is going to be for next chapter, or what Yuha and you know, Uryu and Hashwolf are going to do. And maybe we'll like cut back over to Ichigo's battle, and then he'll use whatever technique he does, and maybe not completely kill all 4 Sternritter girls, but maybe wound them severely. And then after he does that, and he goes down to Kenpachi, I'm like, sorry about that, Kenpachi, it's all good now. We'll get you help. Then all of a sudden Yuha pulls his shit, and then it's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not done yet. You know, stuff like that. So maybe that's how that goes. All in all, relatively short chapter, but we got to see a fight. We got to see just a glimmer of what Ichigo's capable of. Not really offensively, but just the fact of defensively, that he wasn't harmed at all by any of Candace's attacks. Maybe a Blue Vein reference, that he was able to do any of those techniques. We didn't really get to see anything like that. Like when he took off his outfit, his cloak, we didn't really get to see the Blue Vein markings on his body at all. Just as I'm really interested in what those things are on his wrist. That's something that might come back to be a big deal later on. So pay attention to that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the chapter review. This will be Tekking101 signing out.